Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Good. My name is Linda. Looks like there's only two of us here, right?
Yep, I think it starts at 3:30. So,
Oh, I see. Why did I have it for three?
I
Good.
actually thought 3:15 earlier, so I think it's the end of the day.
Got it. All right. Well, I might go do some things and come back then.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for coming.
Yep.
Hi.
Hi, Paris.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. Yay, it's almost over. Oh, Alice Anderson's back. You're welcome. Wonder why does she think it starts earlier than 3:30 or later or
She might have been like, oh, there's nothing going on. I thought, I'm just going to try it and see if it works.
yeah. Well, people, I guess couple of people
Like, I'm glad you were in there. I was like, I didn't know what to expect. So
some other people thought it started at
well, the invite says 3, so you get a pop-up on your machine
3.
because it's set from 3 to, I don't know when it ends, 4:30 or something like that.
Yeah.
So on your calendar, it shows up that way.
Okay. I didn't realize everybody got those calendar invites.
Yeah, on the Birds of a Feather one they did.
Yeah. So this starts at 3:30, just for everyone.
Hi, this is Alice.
Hi. Welcome.
Are we sure this was starting at 3:30? I thought it was at 3.
Well, the calendar invites were set for 3, just so that people had time. But if you look at the schedule, the session schedule, it's at 30. We just wanted to give people time to get in, or notice, I guess.
Gotcha. Thanks.
No problem. All right, welcome. We'll be starting at 3:30, guys. Hello, welcome. Starts at 3:30 today. Hello, welcome.
Hello.
Give everyone a few more minutes. We have several more registered. Well, and it technically starts at 3:30. Some of us have been here a while. welcome. Hello, everyone. We will start here in just a couple minutes. We have a couple more lined up. All right. I have a couple of people in here who didn't register. I think that that's okay. I checked the registration. We have a couple more maybe come in. Maybe I'll give one more minute and then we'll get started. This is the Birds of a Feather, providing virtual trainings for faculty and staff. Thank you all for being with us. Okay, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started. Oh, I got one more. Hang on. Sorry. Okay, guys. All right, we are getting started here. In just a couple minutes, I will lock the room. I'll go ahead and keep admitting people, but we're going to go ahead and start. Birds of a Feather, providing virtual trainings for faculty and staff. Do I have anybody who has any questions to start off with, or anything they'd like to share with the group as an opener? Any cool ways of doing these that might be a little different? Or anything you've learned while doing some of these? This is a open group discussion.
I have not personally done one, but I was curious to see if others had and what methods they've used. Has anyone here done any?
Yeah, we've done a few at WSU. This is Allie from WSU. Sorry, I had something in my mouth, so I couldn't jump in just then. We've been doing ours in Teams and ITS training, and so far it's been pretty surprisingly, at least for me, uneventful. Haven't had really any issues. The only thing I learned the hard way was if you put exercises into the chat, it opens it in Teams' chat screen. So I'm doing Microsoft trainings, and if I put an Excel document in the chat and they click on it, it opens it within Teams, which some people aren't hip to the jive and they don't understand what's going on. So that's the only issue I've run into, but Teams has been the bomb.com for me anyway.
So my name is Becca, and I'm the technology training specialist at Butler Community College. And I've also done quite a few virtual trainings since, mid-March. Allie, I'd be interested to know kind of more about how you're doing yours in Teams. I've done kind of a combination. We use Zoom also. And it seems like our faculty is more comfortable in Zoom. And so I think for us, one thing I've learned is that we definitely have some deficiencies in just our computer skills that have kind of come up during this trying to provide virtual training. And Teams was definitely a challenge for our faculty. Our staff is a little more comfortable with it, but yeah.
I have a question actually, Allie. Using Teams, so we've kind of experimented a little bit, just a little bit. I haven't had any trainings, but for Teams, we could only see the pictures in a video call really large and they're like long. So for more, and then for more people, we can only see 2 at a time versus Zoom, we can see everybody. Is that something you've experienced? Have you found a way around that, or?
Yeah, I think a recent update actually addressed that. I want to say it was last week or two. Every time this is the running joke we have, is that every time we open up Teams, there's like a whole new set of features. So everyone complained about not having the grid view like you have in Zoom. And I think now it's a 3x3 that they'll let you have. The first time I got to test it out was actually, I want to say last week, when I had 5 people in a session. But of course, when you're screen sharing, all bets are off. All their pictures are at the bottom, which is in a training usually what you're doing. So, yep.
Okay, we haven't checked it since, so that's good to know. Thank you.
But faculty definitely more comfortable in Zoom. Absolutely right about that. They've gotten so conditioned to using it that then they're not as comfortable in Teams.
I would completely agree with that. This is Tracy Holsum. I am from Pittsburgh State, and we are also using Teams. And we honestly started rolling out Teams to our whole university starting in February. So we're trying to move everybody off of P Drive into OneDrive and Teams. And so we had already done a ton of training, and we've continued our training of Teams through Teams training and done a lot of that. Our faculty are more comfortable with Zoom because that's what they use also. But we do like the 9 different pictures that come up now. And then also you can add a bunch of new backgrounds. So I feel like Teams is trying to become Zoom. So I agree. Every time we open it, there's something new in there that's changed. Now you can raise your hand in Teams, which you didn't used to be able to do that. So it's just every day it's closer and closer to Zoom.
Yeah, I've been keeping a really close eye on the 365 roadmap for Teams, because there's so much stuff they're rolling out, and I keep getting questions like, oh, well, Teams doesn't do such and such that Zoom does, and I just keep saying, just wait. It will.
This is Sarah Taggart from Fort Hays. And we do a lot of Teams training. I am fortunate enough that I am the Zoom admin for Fort Hays. So I also push a lot of that as well. And Allie, you're right. Right now it is 9, but I'm part of like a Microsoft Tech community voting page. So I get notifications all the time that tell me, like, people put in questions about, or, you know, even in Teams, when your notification banner pops up in the bottom right-hand corner, and it's an annoyance for a lot of people because that's where you type. That's another issue that our faculty has. They don't know how, they think they can move it, and obviously they can't. It's a permanent thing, but yeah, we actually have been pushing Teams out and OneDrive at the same time. So I was physically meeting with specific departments and going to them and meeting with them, especially with some of our faculty that have never worked remotely or in a chat conversation. So trying to move them over, and a lot of them have honestly been with Fort Hays for 25, 30 years. And I got a lot of pushback of, I don't want to do it, or I'm retiring in 5 years and I don't want to learn it. But once you get past that initial, it's not that scary. It's not that big of a deal. It's really easy to learn. Then they're usually on board, which is good, because some of those people were super difficult at first. But yeah, we do a lot of stuff through Teams right now just because it's easy. But a lot of my trainings are more one-on-one or just departmental based. So we can do those smaller meetings. If it's bigger, then we do Zoom, but.
Has anybody had a struggle training on Teams, using Teams? Does that make sense? Because I've had some challenges with that. So I was curious if anyone else has had a struggle with that.
I think our biggest struggle, this is Tracy from Pitt State again, our biggest struggle has just getting people logged into Teams. Like, I don't know if you guys have used it much, but the app is way better than the web version. And so it's the same people that we struggle with everything. But once we can actually get them in Teams, then we're good to go. But it's actually sometimes actually getting them to open Teams and get into it, and just getting them familiar at the very beginning and not feeling like they're overwhelmed. And once we can do that, I feel like we're good to go with it.
I think that, and the other thing I've run into, and this is just coming a product of people working from home, but people don't have the screen real estate sometimes. So if they're trying to follow along on a training and they're on a tiny laptop and they don't have, it's going to be really hard to have enough screen real estate to follow you and do something on the, if you have exercises for them to do anyway. I think if it's a pure demo, it might be different, but I've run into that problem before.
Yes, this is Bill Hood, Pitt State. We do find that sometimes, and what people will do is they'll take their phone and they'll have their computer they're looking at, and their phone has their camera, and then you get feedback, and it's all kinds of looping issues there. But I would second what Tracy said, and that's if you can get them in there and make it not scary. We haven't had too much trouble. The big problem is just getting them to open it.
Has anyone had any experience with anything other than Zoom or Teams? Like, I know yesterday they kind of talked about a little virtual reality. I don't know if anyone's doing any, is there anything through Canvas that they
This is Stephen St. Laurent. I'm with Kansas State University. I've had quite a bit of experience using GoToMeeting, but not sure I've seen any universities that are using that at this point. I did take some Oracle training, quite a bit of Oracle training. I used to be a database administrator, and that was all through virtual Citrix GoToMeeting. But the other technologies seem to be catching up. Like we did have like 128 people that trained using Teams on Teams, and they had 4 or 5 sessions. So we've got I'm going to say a Teams guru. His name is Robert here at University. Robert Howard, I believe is his name, and he knows Teams pretty well. But other than that, Citrix GoToMeeting is the only other product I've used outside of Teams and Zoom.
How did you do your training on Teams? I'm curious because I don't know how to give them exercises to follow along with, because you're in actual Teams.
Yeah, what he basically did is he just demoed Teams and how you can create different, like you can create a team, or you can start with the new chats, and then he showed how you can go ahead and bring in applications to help make the Teams experience better. I also know that we had a instructor state that he was teaching an engineering class with Teams, and there was a drawing class, and so they downloaded some software from Teams to help with that, and they had a lot of success with that as well.
So more of a presentation mode than a follow along kind of thing.
Yes, ma'am. That's what I would say. Yes. Yeah, I'm not sure. Does Zoom do real well with having examples put out there either, though?
I don't know.
You almost have to have some type of a lab environment for someone to log into, wouldn't you, to be able to have a more successful training? Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's a really challenging one to have them follow along with, because you can't just, have everybody creating teams willy-nilly that are just for test purposes.
Yep, I agree.
This is Linda from KU, and I've before we went remote, I was adding people to a demo team. So I'd have maybe 7 or 8 people attend the workshop, and I would just add them as members, and then they could play around in the post area, they could create channels, etc. And I go through and I delete everything right at the end of the session. But that was pretty handy. I'm not doing that now because we have sometimes 50 people who sign up for the trainings. So it's strictly presentation remotely. But when I was in actual workshops, I would just add them to a team.
This is Tracy from Pitt State again. When we first started training, we just made a training team also. But since we've kind of been training by department, we actually, being Bill or I, we join their team. So they have a department team, and so we join it as the owner. So when we're demoing it, we're actually demoing their team for them. And so they can be in there at the same time also and be seeing the different things that we're doing.
And one advantage to that is we have a little bit of leverage over them because we're moving their data at the same time off of another drive or copying it over, so they can get in and see their data. They can look at it and make sure everything's there, and it really works. It gives them a little incentive to pay attention because this is where your stuff is now, and it's not just an empty team. You have to go here to get if you want to save anything, you got to save it to your team.
I was going to say that when I don't know, when I need trained on something tech-wise, TeamViewer, they usually just kind of get in and show me, like physically show me what I'm doing, but I don't know if that would necessarily work unless it was like something they couldn't, that's more of a maybe fix, but does Teams have does it have where someone, doesn't it have something where you can go on and do it for someone? Is that what you're, you can take over their computer?
Share screen. And yeah, you can give access to another individual. Yes, you can do that.
The same thing as share screen, or?
No, it's, you would have to give them permission. It's an option in there that you would have to click on, which is kind of nice for us because our tier 2 Tiger Tech staff, that's what they do when they're trying to fix issues with software and things like that. So now on my end, if it's something related to some of the applications or the software that we use currently on campus, they can actually call me and I can remote in and save them the trip, especially now since we're kind of on limited staff with no students. And yeah.
Yeah, that's handy. They can call you on Teams and they can share their screen, and it's a little laggy. The control is a little tougher than remote help, which we use more frequently, but it's workable. And also, new feature that appeared last week or this week, you can transfer calls now, I guess.
Yeah. Where, I'm not sure, but yeah.
Yeah. It was like, surprise, this is today's new feature.
Our staff is excited that you can actually put in your own personal backgrounds in Teams. So that was a fun thing that they got to work with and play with. So now we see a lot of new backgrounds on Teams, because I think they loved the virtual backgrounds in Zoom and they wanted to be able to implement those into Teams as well. And they were kind of sad that we couldn't they didn't know how to for a while, but yeah, you have to, with us, everything has to be a video and some kind of Word document or PDF file for them to follow. So, but yeah, it's the little things sometimes that they like to have on hand and be able to switch around and say they can do it.
One feature that I have really liked in the chat part of Teams, I had somebody reach out to me yesterday that was having trouble and couldn't print. So you can actually add in people to those conversations, and you can say, let them have access to everything we've chatted about. And I know in Skype, you can add people into conversations and stuff like that, but in Teams, it is so smooth and so easy. And they were able, the employee was on campus and the two techs were at home, and they were able to troubleshoot everything with him and walked him through and fixed his printer issue, and they found another issue while they were at it. But it's just so easy for everybody to communicate through it. And like I said, when you add somebody, it says include today's conversation, last week's conversation, all conversation. And so you don't have to go back and retype that, where in Skype, it isn't like that.
I think the transfer call feature that you're seeing has to do with the fact that they're trying to get rid of Skype for Business and replace it with Teams, and Skype for Business had the ability to hook into telephone systems, and so they're trying to get that kind of functionality now in Teams.
Yeah, I think Teams has that functionality if anyone's brave enough to enable it.
We'll let you do that, Allie, and then you tell us all how it works.
Okay, I'll go first.
No, we may need to check with the higher ups first, Allie.
Yeah. One other thing that's kind of nice about the Teams trainings is some people had spotted the record feature after I did the first few trainings, and they actually asked me afterwards, was this training recorded? I'd like to go back and look at something that we talked about. And so I've started asking each of my trainings if it's okay if we record it, and they've all been all for it, and they go back, it shows up in the chat from the training, and they can go back and watch something at the hour mark if they missed something or got lost or want to revisit something. So that's kind of a cool thing too.
You can also take those and because it uses Stream to record and store those. So we've actually, I've created a company-wide channel. So after the training sessions have been recorded, I'll go ahead and upload those to the tech training channel for our institution, and then they can go watch them on demand, anyone. So it's really nice how it's all integrated together.
Other than the fact that it's super awkward to watch your own.
Oh yeah, that's horrible. It's so cringy.
So you mentioned going back and looking at something at the hour mark. How long are your trainings generally?
Well, mine are Microsoft sessions, so they're usually 2 hours, Excel parts 1, 2, and 3. I've built in some breaks, which have been interesting to do virtually, what I've been doing, rather than I usually give them a break and a challenge to do in person. Rather than doing that, I've been setting a timer on my phone, and I say, if you want to take the challenge, do them later. If you want to stand up and jump around, just come back in 5 minutes, kind of thing.
So when you think about bringing on new faculty or new staff, is there anything that anyone can think of that is usually very hands-on that we do for them when they come? And so in our IT departments, I don't have actually faculty that I hire, but is there anything that we do that is more hands-on? Are people going to do like half and half, a mix of virtual and face-to-face when we can, or how are people going to do the things that, I mean, is there anything that we can't do virtually as far as things that have to be physically paperwork or physically taught? I don't know if there is anything, but has anyone run across any of that? Or like even,
The only thing
if they're not coming to campus? Or
The only thing I've experienced just being challenging in the virtual training is, like I said, it has been more on the faculty side. They're just not comfortable using, the technology. And like Ali mentioned, the screen real estate is kind of an issue. So it's really been hard to try to get them to do anything hands-on. So that's kind of been a challenge. But I think for us, it's helped us to identify maybe that there are some deficiencies. We need to go back and kind of work on some foundational stuff first, because I think some of our more tech savvy people would be able to do some of that more hands-on, go do this challenge, kind of like Ali was mentioning. But yeah, it would be a lot easier if we were in a computer lab and one person could present and another person could walk around and make sure people were getting to the right place.
This is Amy over at WSU. I work with Allie's one of my colleagues, and to tack on to what I agree with what Rebecca was saying is that one of our challenges is we also do a lot of banner training, and that's our administrative software, our ERP, and they have to VPN before they can do banner training. And so getting our less than tech savvy individuals, especially our faculty, when we've got to do banner grade entry and override training with them, student information training with them, it can be a little challenging when they've got a VPN and we've got to show them how to VPN and then show them how to use the banner. And so some of that is easier to do. It's forced us to create a lot of very awesome guides. Allie's done a good part of that, showing them how to VPN and that kind of information. We've really expanded our online presence guide-wise, definitely.
So this is Tracy at Pitt State again. One of the things I guess maybe concerned a little bit about is new employees. So I run the help desk, and so my student employees are still working right now. And has anybody thought about how are you hiring any new student employees this summer? And if so, how you're gonna go about training them?
We actually gave some of our students the option to switch to other parts of our team that maybe I didn't need my admin, like for admin, work, payroll, stuff like that. But maybe our help desk needed a little more help. So we kind of had students, if they, we gave them an option to maybe go to another team who might have needed the help or had someone graduate or something like that before we posted anything, which would have been a little easier to train, I think. But we did have one go from an unnecessary spot at the moment to our help desk team. So we kind of tried to replace the students we already had a little bit, but I don't think we are currently hiring anyone.
This is Sarah from Fort Hays again. So when we first initially went to working remotely, none of our students started that way. It ended up coming back on us. And so myself and 3 other, I think we actually have 6 females in our IT department, and 4 of us ended up taking the help desk phones over from home and doing our job on top of that. And then when probably about a month in, it was becoming, I guess you really learn how to appreciate what our student workers do after you've had to be in their shoes for that long and know exactly what they've been doing for that last month. But they actually took them back just 2 weeks ago and are working from their homes. We set them up so that they could do that. But we were fortunate enough that we only had, I believe, 2 graduate in May, and the rest were sophomores. So a lot of them have other summer jobs. So we kind of cut back in the summer anyway. So it actually didn't affect us right now, except for that first initial month when we went remotely. But yeah, knock on wood, we were pretty lucky there. So we actually have 4 students that are working from home right now. One of them handles the online chat, and the other 3 handle phone calls and transferring of calls to all of us on campus. So, or working remotely, I guess. But
I'm kind of curious to poll the room about, and I know this is a moving target, but when we get back on campus, even if it's just part-time, what are you guys' plans for? Are you going to go straight back into online sessions with 5 at a time? Are you going to do are you still going to do remote for a while? Or what are you, at this moment, what are some of your perspectives or plans?
I think at K-State, we're scheduled to stay remote until August 1st. So we don't have, but the plan right now, unless things change, is to have face-to-face classes in the fall. But everything could swing based off of whatever happens with the pandemic.
I might add to that a little bit. They've discussed keeping some of the staff remote through the fall too, just to cut down the amount of people on campus. Whether that happens, I have no idea.
I'm just trying to figure out how this goes down, even if you could space people out 6 apart and 6 feet apart and require masks. Just the nature of technology training, you're going to get within 6 feet. If they raise their hand and have a question, you know, you're going to approach the person. So just trying to figure out how that goes down.
I think for us at Butler right now, the plan is, as few people on campus, even in the fall when we start. If you're not really essential, don't have to be there. If you can do it remotely, I think that's kind of what we're looking at. And actually, to piggyback off of your question, Allie, I'd be curious, has anyone else noticed higher engagement or more participation, more attendance in your training opportunities since going remote, or has it decreased for you guys or stayed about the same?
Linda at KU, and it's definitely increased. Part of that is because everyone's going to Teams because out of necessity, so they need to know how to use it. But even my other classes have been up a little bit. So
in our department, I feel like we have 65, well, including students. I don't know the number right off the top of my head without some of them. 45, I think, full-time, 40 to 45 range. And we have a whole department meeting every Thursday morning, and you'll get 5 to 10. But now we've got a whole lot more showing up. I think also because people are just not seeing anyone, and kind of it's a way to connect more and know what's going on, I guess. Whereas if we were all here, we would be able to see that or hear it in the hallways, or, you know, see each other and say it. So I think for me, and I'm like, oh, people. So it's kind of a social thing too, maybe a little bit more than it was before. And I don't know, we've seen increases internally. I don't know about trainings per se, but.
Yeah, I was just curious because I know for me, we've had a large spike in attendance for our technology training. And so I'm curious to see when we do return to campus, kind of what happens. I kind of think that I will continue to do, even, you know, pandemic aside, I think I will continue to offer some virtual sessions, because it seems like maybe it's a little easier for people to get involved with that, rather than, you know, they have to step away from their desk, go to a training lab or a computer lab. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens.
I'll say that before all this happened, we did offer a few what we call webinar trainings, essentially what we're doing right now. And I had 1 or 2 at most sign up for those. So I'd be, you know, anxious to see what happens after all of this. And we do offer a mixture, like a hybrid of in-person and webinar, if it doesn't increase, because people are maybe more familiar and feel a little bit more confident at Zoom or whatever tools that we're using.
Well, and here, I know that I've heard it said, if we can work remotely, why would we not? We're all going to be in separate offices in a Zoom meeting, you know, 10 feet from each other. Why wouldn't we just have the same meetings we're currently having, and maybe risk, you know, put each other at risk instead of doing it how we're currently doing it, if it's working. So someone had said something along those lines a little bit earlier.
I think there's a demographic of people who are longing to get back to an in-person session. Some of the people who are less computer literate, and it's the technology gets in the way of their learning sometimes. But then there's especially the younger set. I feel like a lot of them are saying on the evaluation forms, you know, can we just keep doing it this way? Because this was nice. I could just sit at my own computer, you know, and then I have a copy of the exercises here, and it's exactly how it's going to be in real life for me. So I think that there's a lot of different personalities out there to accommodate.
In the past, I used to do some training, and what we would run into doing trainings is often the people who are like administrative staff would prefer to go and go to a classroom for the training to get away from the desk and not have to answer the phone and deal with those kind of issues, where the other people were more than happy to do a remote training.
What are you all doing in the way of like on-demand training? Is anyone offering like a Canvas or Blackboard course, or maybe even doing a course in Teams, anything like that?
We're doing something called Jumpstart. Kim, I don't know if you know much about that, but it's basically teaching it's a course for our faculty on Canvas. We've been having them because we're tech, and we're kind of pushing towards, not pushing, but, you know, of course we're going to recommend, you know, paperless and all the things that tech can offer, including we have a learning technologies team. What we can offer, you know, as far as Canvas, and you know, we were kind of already hoping that everybody would at least integrate a little bit for this. So I'm not saying we were, you know, anyone was excited to do this very quickly, but it's kind of like, well, now everyone's had to learn a little bit. And I don't know if that's you know, something anyone really, I'm not saying anyone's happy about any of this, but it's kind of like now everyone has to really realize, you know, why we're saying having this Jumpstart course and maybe saying that that online learning is a valuable option. I don't know, Kim, if you know a little more about the actual Jumpstart courses or not. But I don't personally.
I'm not involved in it, but I do know that in the beginning, when we suddenly had to switch to all online learning, they did hold some online and even some in-person courses for those to get up to speed with using Canvas, because some never had.
Did anyone else experience, I mean, does anyone else have like a learning technologies team, like specific team that is built to specifically help faculty with their online teachings, or is that something that, does anyone else have any experience with that?
We have WSU has a team, IDA, Instructional Design and Access is I think what it stands for. And it's kind of confusing because they're separate from IT. And so we get confused with each other all the time, but they kind of handle Blackboard. And I think all their trainings on how to use Blackboard have been moved to videos online. I don't think they do any live trainings on it anymore, but they handle all the separate from IT. They handle the support for that.
Yeah, at KU, we have an educational technology team that takes care of Blackboard and training with academic information for instructors. That is separate from our other trainings that we do. Someone mentioned Excel and do Teams and SharePoint, et cetera. That's a different team, and I'm part of that.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that too. This is Sarah from Fort Hays again. We have it's called TILT, Teaching, Innovation, and Learning Technologies. That's our group of like the instructional designers and people like that. They're separate from our IT as well, and they handle all of the training for Blackboard and like the faculty development, things like that. So, and I believe most of their stuff is through phone calls to them or videos that they have posted on their website.
Yeah, we're set up kind of the same way. So I'm part of the information services division, so IT, and then we've got a faculty development team, and then also we have an educational technology team. And so EdTech really handles all of the, you know, Canvas, instructional design, all of that. But I guess what I'm kind of curious about is, you know, I work pretty closely with our faculty development team. They often will ask me to come do trainings that they'll promote for faculty on things like Microsoft products and whatnot. And they've kind of wanted to have some on-demand training courses that, you know, we work together to build. But what I'm finding is like our staff want to learn these things using Teams, and then faculty development and EdTech, they want me to put the on-demand courses in Canvas. And so it's just, I'm finding some duplication there, kind of having to navigate that.
So your faculty wants to use Teams versus Canvas, or what do you?
Vice versa. Well, I was just curious if anyone was, you know, offering like a Microsoft 365, you know, course, but they're delivering it using Canvas or Blackboard or something like that. But we kind of have, yeah, go ahead, Allie.
We're kind of doing what you're talking about with our IDA team. We usually do they have an academic resources conference every year that's heavily geared toward faculty. And I don't know about you guys, but I get 90% staff in my trainings, and very rarely get a real live faculty member. So faculty come to this, and this year it's going to be online. And so that was an exact problem we kind of talked about, was that they're not going to really be into Teams as much as the staff were. So it's going to be on Zoom, which I'm a little less comfortable with, but they're more comfortable with. So we'll see what happens.
I was just going to ask you the question if you were getting faculty to come to trainings, because we used to always have a real hard time getting them to come to trainings when I was doing it.
Yeah, it's so unfortunate, because when they do come, I feel like I learn a whole new set of questions that people have, or a whole new, possible scenarios. And I learn so much what they need when I actually see a real life faculty, but it's definitely, for me, the minority anyway.
So I think faculty reach out a fair amount for one-on-one trainings on Zoom. And they have specific problems they're trying to solve, or data they're trying to analyze, or things they're trying to set up. And I generally agree. Most of the people who come to the trainings I do are staff, and sometimes graduate students.
I am curious, this is Sarah from Fort Hays again. I'm curious what times and what days, like when do you hold your training sessions? Because obviously when we were on campus, obviously I had a lot of admin assistants and those kind of staff members that had their own specific times and days during the week that they wanted to meet. And now it's more difficult to accommodate everyone. So I'm just kind of curious what works best while we're working remotely with all of you guys.
I've been doing them. I don't know. I kept mine at my usual times, which have been morning times, which maybe that's a folly, but in real life, I found people were less likely to be sleepy after lunch. So you put them in a nice dark lab and they just start to snooze. So in the mornings doesn't seem to happen as much. So mine are usually at 9 a.m. When I have a choice on it.
I've kept mine at their normal times as well. Usually mornings tend to work best for me as well.
I've kind of been doing a rotation. Oh, sorry. I'll kind of, I try to offer one like morning time, one in the afternoon, and then, every few weeks I'll offer the same type of training again and try to offer it, a different day, maybe in the afternoon instead of the morning. So I kind of rotate.
I do pretty much the same. Afternoons and mornings on the regular schedule, in-person schedule, but I have been going mostly the mornings, and the classes have been filling up. We also offer desk-side coaching, and that could look like individual help with any of their software that they have, or people have asked for departmental training specific for their departments. It could be Teams, it could be a SharePoint, a number of things, and we do those as well. So that would hopefully cover those folks who can't make the scheduled workshops.
Great, thank you. My position at Fort Hays is just a newly added position. So any kind of information that you guys can help. I mean, I've been in this position less than a year. And so just getting the word out to our faculty and staff that there's an actual individual on campus that is specifically the job is specifically to train you on software and, you know, the various applications that we use on campus is hard enough sometimes. So I'm just happy to hear anybody's input on anything. So this is all great for me. Thank you.
Sarah, do you advertise the fact that they've added your position?
Well, yes, we have a, so the VP for tech services, when I first initially took the position, sent out a notification to all, or campus wide, basically saying that this is me, and this is my position, and this is what my job consisted of. However, knowing a lot, I mean, I've been on campus for probably 15 years now, and knowing a lot of those individuals, I'm sure they have rules set up in their email that if anything goes to all faculty, staff, they may not even read it. We've pushed emails out again. We've tried to, we have what's called Tiger Daily, which is a email that goes out that gives all the announcements, events, upcoming events, and things that are going on campus to all of our faculty and staff. We've put notifications in there. Some of them, I mean, obviously people are getting that in their content, and I actually go to the departments and reach out, and that's how I've gotten in touch with other departments, is just word of mouth by those individuals. But a lot of them, I don't know if it's just because it's new, or they just are so used to having our like help desk has always been their go-to. I don't know if it's something new and they're not comfortable with it. I don't know, but I'm willing to try anything at this point, just to put the word out. So.
One of the things that Allie did at WSU was she created a training track for Microsoft users, and it was a power users track. I don't know if there'd be any way with any of your trainers that you could create a training track, and she offers them a digital credential and a plaque or a little certificate and pictures and stuff, and that really increased the interest in the Microsoft Office trainings. And we've even gone so far as to, her and I've had discussions about expanding that to maybe a finance training track, so that those trainings that aren't required, if they take certain, banner finance reporting and self-service, that kind of stuff, they might get a certificate on that end as well. That might be something to look at. And Allie could sure, answer to that better than I can.
Yeah, Allie's been honestly a godsend. I went to Czech last year and went to one of her trainings and got familiar with some of that, but we have not pushed that yet, just because it's all new. And so I'm just, Allie and I have actually talked about maybe possibly like just, getting a group of us trainers together just to brainstorm and collaborate, maybe just to see what, all the different universities are doing, how we can help each other out, things like that. So, yeah, Allie's been great for me.
I would 100%.
Shout out to Allie.
None of you can take her. I'm sorry. None of you can take her. She is awesome. Well, now would be a good time to try and get a group of trainers together, at least virtually, if nothing else.
Yeah, I was thinking teams earlier. I thought this is really helpful just to talk to each other. And seeing others' documentation, I think, would be really helpful as well. And I don't know what people think about teams as a way to go for that, but maybe having a team of trainers throughout the state of Kansas.
Oh, that would be really good.
Is that possible? Because Sarah and I have been talking about that, and like we were trying to figure out what can we do across organizations, like a SharePoint, or maybe Teams would let us do it. I've run into.
I had my other birds of a feather. Sorry, people who wanted to collaborate put there, and I don't know how comfortable. I did lock the room, put their emails in the chat that everybody could see, and they took them down. And then they kind of decided they would start an email, a group email, and then decide what they wanted to do from there. Now, you guys can decide. I was just letting you know that happened the last one.
Well, this is Kim from Emporia State. And just so you know a little bit about my background and what I do, I work our help desk, and I'm also a part-time trainer, which honestly, I haven't had a whole lot of time for training, especially since our work from home, because I'm constantly answering calls. But a lot of times I'm doing one-on-one training, people calling in and asking for help. Haven't really done much virtual before, but I wanted to mention that I'm also a SharePoint administrator. So I could create a group and share it. I don't know if it's, I could move it into Teams, but I'm willing to try if you guys are.
No, worst case scenario, I mean, it's worth it to try it. And
Yeah.
worst case scenario, we're all used to experimenting on things.
Yeah, if you want to leave your email addresses in the chat, I'll create one sometime next week, and we can test it out together.
That would be
Great.
Kim.
Yeah. I think a team, for me anyway, a team would be great, because then we can communicate with each other and talk about, because I'm really interested in
teams.
Digital credential. I've kind of explored that a little bit. I'm less than a year in my job as well. But I'm really interested in how that works. Having a conversation with folks would be great.
Okay, that sounds great. I'm excited to learn from you guys, work together.
Thanks, Kim.
You're welcome.
Is everybody fine with leaving those in the chat, or is there another solution anybody would rather do? I see some there. And Kim, you know you can save those.
Yes.
I'm sure I knew you did.
Yep, so anybody that's interested, make sure to get your email address in there, and I'll include you. We can always add more later if you know of other folks that aren't necessarily in our talk today. We can add them.
So we have 5 minutes left. Does anyone have any parting shots or any last questions that they wanted to touch upon?
This is Madeline from Wichita State. I work with the fabulous Allie and Amy Belden. I thought about something that Sarah said that we do at Wichita State. We work a lot with HR for new employee orientation. That's one way that we push out new trainings or required trainings. That's one way to push out the information that there's a trainer available to kind of direct you and help you with some of the software and applications we use. We also work with a small group of staff sometimes, some of our favorites, and then some of our tech challenge people to test out some trainings or to spread the word sometimes. And we also work with deans of colleges sometimes to spread more information about the training that's out there and available. I just really thought about, Sarah's struggle with getting people to know that that's there and available. And we also do use our strategic communications to push out any new trainings or training times, what's available. So that's just a couple of things that I just thought of that were really helpful in helping us when we push out old trainings, new trainings, whatever trainings are out there, and to really put a face to a name and really help people know that that's a resource for them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We do get, so we have a ticketing system for all new employees that we have implemented now. So I get some kind of email, like an email notification that says that we have a new faculty member or a staff member starting. And typically it's 2 to 3 weeks prior to their start date. So I set reminders and I send them an email template that has all that information in it. It's the older faculty staff that I'm having the difficulty trying to touch base with, or even getting them to come to a training session. Our administrative assistants on campus have a monthly luncheon that they all attend, and they have speakers come. And I've attended those in the past. Now I actually invited myself to come and just promote it, thinking, and that's helped a little, just because those people are going back to their staff and saying how they've learned all this stuff and where they're learning it. But yeah, I definitely need to reach out to Allie some more and see about all of her and the HR as well. That does, I didn't even think about that, but that definitely would help. Maybe I can meet with them when they come to campus, or put something into their packets or something like that, so that they're aware. But that is great. Thank you so much.
We've actually embedded ourselves as a part of the new employee orientation for new staff, that we introduce ourselves, we kind of let them know what we offer, what we do in our department, in our area, so they're aware that that's something that's there. That might be helpful too, if you guys have new employee orientation in batches, that you can start being a part of that.
Yeah, that definitely would help. Thank you.
All right, we have about a minute left, guys, not to break this up, but if anyone else had any comments on that specific or anything else, now is the time.
I've been doing new employee training kind of like that. We tried to do monthly sessions that were larger, but very few signed up. So I kind of switched it up and got word to HR and some of the departments, hey, if you have a new individual coming on campus, have them reach out to me, and I'll either meet them in person or we'll do a remote session together. And since I work the help desk, I just kind of get everything and help them get set up and oriented of where to go. There may be people on the job for 2 months or longer, and they're totally lost and they're struggling, and they may not even know the web address to our portal. So, those kind of things help, and kind of gives us a face that they can contact if they need help or more training.
Okay, everyone, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for making this easy to moderate. And thank you for being a part of the first virtual check at ESU. And we hope you enjoyed the time. We worked some of our plugs out for the second day. I feel like today went really well. And I just really appreciate everyone being here very much.
Thank you, Karis, and thanks to everybody else. It was nice to hear your thoughts.
Everyone have everything they need from the chat?
I do, if everyone's put in their address there.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Bye.